scientists cut off its arm, completely removed. 3 weeks later, it grew back. Every nerve.
All the rules of biology. An animal with a superpower that, honestly, could completely change the future of human medicine. Okay, so picture this. In a lab, scientists do something that would be an absolute catastrophe for you or me, or pretty much any other animal with a backbone. They completely amputate one of its limbs. And then they just watched for 3 weeks. Now for us, that would mean healing, a lot of pain, and ultimately a permanent scar where our arm used to be. But for this animal, something totally different was happening. A brand new arm grew back. And I don't mean a stump or some weird, scarred-up version. I mean a perfect replica. Every single bone, muscle, nerve, and blood vessel, all in exactly the right place. This little creature is the axolotl, and it just does this.
This ability to perfectly rebuild something so complex is, for us, basically impossible. So what on earth makes the axolotl so different?
Well, it all comes down to a fundamental trade-off in biology. See, when you get a serious injury, your body's #1 priority is speed. It slams the door shut on the wound as fast as possible to stop infection. The result? A messy patch job we call scar tissue. The axolotl, though, its body prioritizes perfection over speed, and the result is flawless, total regeneration. To really get how it pulls off this perfection, you first have to understand what this animal even is. And the first clue is pretty wild. It's basically an adult that just never bothered to grow up. There's a biological term for this. It's called Neoteny. So while other salamanders go through metamorphosis and become land dwellers, the axolotl lives its entire life and even has babies, all while staying in its teenage aquatic form. It's an eternal child. And the reason why is actually surprisingly simple. It's all about thyroid hormone. And its cousins, like the tiger salamander, a big surge of this hormone triggers that change, pushing them onto land. But axolotls? They have chronically low levels, so that trigger just never gets pulled. Staying young isn't a bug in their system, it's their main feature.
And it really seems like this eternal youth biology is the key to their incredible powers. So let's zoom in and see what's actually happening at the cellular level when a limb gets injured.
The whole thing happens in 4 mind-blowing steps. First, skin cells rush over to seal the wound, like within hours. Then the real magic starts. The mature cells right near the wound, we're talking muscle, bone, skin cells, they start to forget what they are. They de-differentiate. These newly versatile cells then group together to form something called a blastema, which then rebuilds the entire limb, perfectly from scratch. So yeah, this blastema is the absolute key. It's this little ball of cells that have basically reverted back to an embryonic-like state. You could think of it as the ultimate biological reset button. It's a temporary factory for building a whole new body part. You know, for the longest time, we thought the nerves in the limb were just passive wiring and all this. We could not have been more wrong. The nerve is the engine. It's actively pumping out a critical signal molecule called NAG. Without that signal, the blastema forms, and then it just sits there. It does nothing. The nerve isn't just reconnecting, it's the on switch that tells the whole regeneration project to go, go, go. Now, all of this amazing cellular machinery is being directed by a genetic instruction manual, right? The genome. And when scientists were finally able to read the axolotls, they were in for a serious shock.
This is the number of letters or base pairs in the axolotl's genetic code, 32 billion. For decades, it was just too enormous and too complicated for our technology to even try and read.
Just to give you some perspective on that number, the human genome has about 3 billion base pairs. The axolotl's is more than 10 times larger. It's one of the biggest animal genomes we've ever mapped. But here's the thing that was so humbling. When researchers finally decoded it all, back in 2018, they discovered axolotls don't have a bunch of weird alien genes for regeneration. For the most part, they have the same genes that we do. The difference isn't in the parts list, it's in how those parts are used. It's all about the switches. 2 of the most important switches are genes called PAX3 and PAX7. In us humans, these genes are running while we develop in the womb, but then they get shut down and silenced in our adult bodies. In an axolotl, an injury literally flips those switches back to on, and that's what gives their cells the permission slip they need to forget who they are and start the rebuilding process all over again. So if we share the same basic genes, and we're starting to understand the switches,
You know what the billion-dollar question is, right? Can we steal this secret for ourselves, for human medicine?
Well, the research is absolutely exploding in 3 key areas. First, spinal cord repair. Scientists are building these biological scaffolds to help our nerves regrow across an injury. Second, heart regeneration, using what we've learned to stop scar tissue from forming after a heart attack. And third, the really futuristic idea, using axolotl gene sequences to try and temporarily reset our own cells at an injury site.
Okay, we gotta be realistic here. We are not going to be regrowing entire human limbs anytime soon. That is still a long, long way off. But developing real therapies for spinal cord injuries and heart attack damage, that could be a realistic goal within the next 20 years. All because of this one little smiling salamander.
What the axolotl really shows us is that the instruction manual for perfect regeneration isn't some alien text we'll never understand. It might just be dormant, sitting right there inside our own DNA. And that leaves us with one of the most exciting questions in all of medicine. Can we figure out how to switch it back on?